There is a silent reason why most people never become truly exceptional at anything they attempt. It is not a lack of talent. It is not a lack of intelligence. And it is definitely not a lack of resources. Have you ever noticed how some individuals seem to master skills at an unusual speed? They pick up an instrument, and within months, they sound fluent. They start a business, and within a year, they move with confidence. Meanwhile, others stay stuck, repeating effort without real progress. What if the difference is not effort, but sequence? Centuries ago, in feudal Japan, a learning system transformed ordinary people into masters, not through shortcuts, not through hacks, but through a precise path almost everyone today refuses to follow. In this video, you will discover that path and why skipping its first stage quietly guarantees mediocrity. If you are serious about mastering a skill in the next few years, stay with me until the end. And before we continue, subscribe and comment the one skill you truly want to master. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand on that journey. Most people begin the journey of learning with enthusiasm. They buy courses, watch tutorials, read books, and collect information. It feels productive. It feels intelligent. But information alone does not create transformation. In a small village in feudal Japan, a young man named Takeshi dreamed of becoming a samurai. He had no noble blood, no special connections, no natural advantage. What he had was obsession. Every morning before sunrise, he trained alone with a wooden sword, repeating movements he had only observed from a distance. After months of effort, nothing improved. His strikes felt weak, his stance unstable. The harder he tried, the more frustrated he became. What Takeshi did not realize was this: practice does not guarantee progress. Sequence determines outcome. He believed that effort alone would carry him forward, so he trained longer, he pushed harder, he memorized techniques from scrolls, and imagined himself fighting like the warriors he admired. Yet every repetition only reinforced small mistakes he could not see. One afternoon, an older samurai stopped and watched him practice. After a moment of silence, the warrior spoke calmly. "Your feet are misplaced. Your breathing is uncontrolled. You are not training. You are perfecting error." Those words struck deeper than any blade. Takeshi suddenly understood that self-guided repetition without correction can trap a learner in mediocrity. Knowledge without structure becomes noise. That day, the samurai introduced him to a path few are willing to follow, a path built on discipline, humility, and order, a path that begins not with creativity, but with obedience. The samurai told Takeshi that the first stage was called Shu. At this stage, you do not question, you do not improvise, you do not add your personal touch, you copy exactly. Every step, every breath, every angle of the blade. For weeks, Takeshi was ordered to stand in a single posture and breathe in a precise rhythm. No advanced strikes, no dramatic movements, just fundamentals repeated again and again. His ego resisted. His mind whispered that this was too simple to matter. But something subtle began to change. The tension in his shoulders softened. His balance stabilized. Movements that once felt forced slowly became natural. Repetition was no longer punishment. It was programming. Modern research in motor learning confirms this principle. When a movement is repeated correctly hundreds of times, the brain begins to automate it. When repeated with errors, those errors also become automatic. The body does not judge. It simply records. Most people quit at this stage because it feels slow and humbling. If you are still watching, comment 1 to signal that you understand the power of disciplined repetition. Mastery is not built on excitement. It is built on correct repetition long before creativity appears. After months inside Shu, something unexpected happened. Takeshi no longer needed to think about his stance. His body aligned itself before his mind could interfere. The fundamentals had moved beneath conscious effort. They were becoming instinct. This is where most learners make a critical mistake. The moment they feel slight improvement, they rush to add complexity. They chase advanced techniques before their foundation is unshakable. But true progression is layered. Stability first. Precision second, speed last. The samurai warned Takeshi that impatience destroys potential. Without deep roots, even the strongest tree falls under pressure. Mastery does not reward urgency. It rewards structure. And only when obedience becomes effortless does the next stage quietly reveal itself. And that next stage was called Ha. Once Shu had carved discipline into his body, the samurai allowed Takeshi to observe other styles, different stances, different rhythms, different philosophies of combat. At first, the contradictions confused him. One master emphasized patience and grounded posture. Another taught explosive movement and aggressive timing. The techniques appeared to oppose each other. But something deeper was happening. Because Takeshi had internalized the fundamentals, exposure no longer destabilized him. Instead of copying blindly, he began to see patterns beneath the surface. He realized that styles are expressions, but principles are universal. Balance, timing, distance, awareness, these truths existed beyond form. This is where true learners separate themselves from collectors of information. The collector gathers methods and feels advanced. The learner searches for underlying structure and grows adaptable. Without Shu, Ha becomes chaos. With Shu complete, Ha becomes refinement. Gradually, Takeshi started combining elements in ways that felt natural rather than forced. Not to rebel, not to impress, but to respond more effectively. He was no longer trapped inside a single template. Yet he was not abandoning discipline either. Most people stop here. They can adapt. They can innovate slightly, and they believe they have arrived, but mastery demands one final transformation. Beyond Ha lies the final stage, often misunderstood and rarely reached. The samurai called it Ri. This is not a stage you force. It is a stage you grow into. Years passed. Takeshi continued training, facing different opponents, unpredictable conditions, and constant pressure. At first, he still thought in fragments. Now I use this stance. Now I apply that counter. His mind was selecting techniques like tools from a shelf. But slowly, the labels faded. During one intense sparring session, something shifted. Takeshi did not remember choosing a single move. His body responded before thought formed. He adjusted, stepped, deflected, and countered without internal dialogue. There was no hesitation. Only awareness. Modern neuroscience describes a similar phenomenon in elite performers. When skill becomes deeply embodied, conscious control decreases, and automatic systems take over. The expert no longer performs the technique. The technique expresses itself through the expert. This is the difference between practicing a skill and becoming the skill. If you are beginning to see how this applies to your own journey, comment 2 below. Not to follow a trend, but to commit internally to the long path. Because Ri is not about brilliance. It is about integration so complete that effort disappears. After reaching Ri, Takeshi no longer chased improvement. He embodied it. Yet what surprised him most was not the fluidity of his movement, but the clarity of his mind. Mastery did not make him louder. It made him quieter. Young warriors began asking how many techniques he knew. He would answer simply, fewer than you think, more than you need. They expected complexity. He offered simplicity. They expected secrets. He pointed them back to discipline. Because the truth is this, mastery is not the accumulation of methods. It is the elimination of dependency. When you are no longer confined to memorized patterns, you are free to respond to reality as it unfolds. Takeshi understood that the journey never truly ends. Even at the highest level, he returned to fundamentals, not because he had to, but because he respected them. And this is where the lesson expands beyond the battlefield. What Takeshi discovered is not limited to swordsmanship. It applies to music, business, programming, writing, and any craft that demands depth. In guitar, Shu is copying scales exactly. Ha is understanding harmony and structure. Ri is when music flows without calculation. In business, Shu is replicating proven models. Ha is adapting them to your market. Ri is sensing opportunity before data confirms it. The pattern is universal: obey, understand, transcend. Most people try to begin at transcendence. That is why they remain stuck at average. If you truly want transformation, return to structure, build slowly, refine patiently. Then allow mastery to emerge naturally. And here is the uncomfortable truth. The modern world encourages you to skip Shu. It tells you to be original immediately, to stand out before you have even built a foundation, to express yourself before you have trained yourself. But creativity without structure collapses under pressure. Most people jump from skill to skill, a new course, a new strategy, a new system. They collect beginnings and avoid discipline. Then they say the craft was not for them. In reality, they never stayed long enough to internalize it. Takeshi could have done the same. He could have chased faster progress. He could have rejected correction. Instead, he chose humility over ego. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, comment 3 below, not for visibility, but as a personal decision to finish what you start. Because mastery does not reward excitement. It rewards endurance, and the path remains the same for everyone. Foundation, refinement, integration. And this is where your story truly begins. Not when motivation feels high, not when the conditions are perfect, but the moment you decide to respect the process more than your ego. Takeshi was not remembered because he chased recognition. He was remembered because he honored fundamentals long after others became distracted. That is the quiet power of structure. It compounds while others restart. Right now, you have 2 paths in front of you. You can continue searching for faster methods, new strategies, and temporary excitement. Or you can choose one skill and commit to its foundation with discipline. Before you leave this video, take a moment and write down the one skill you will apply Shu to starting today. Then share it in the comments. Not for attention, not for approval, but to create a public commitment that holds you accountable. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This space is dedicated to long-term mastery, not quick shortcuts. Each video builds on the last, step by step, principle by principle. And remember this, mastery is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is repetitive. It is earned slowly. The only question left is whether you are willing to stay.